Hi there, this is Shauna at the Foiled Fox, and I'm back again on Papertrey Ink and Ink to Paper's YouTube channel to feature a new stamp set, stamp and die actually, the Floral Delicacies, and it has these wonderful blossoms. So let's get acquainted with the stamp set. It has two panels of flowers and leaves and some sentiments, and the sentiments are just lovely in this one. And then of course it has some matching dies that cut out most all of the parts and gives you a really nice leaf spray. And then I'm going to be using also the nifty plaid background. You've seen me use this stamp before. It does give a really nice backdrop. And then I'm going to be using another new thing, which is the border bling diamond dies. I'm going to be using the center section and another border bling, which is the skinny diagonal frames, and I'm going to be using the largest one of these frames. And so to get started, I'm going to take out my stamp positioner, put in some white Neenah cardstock, use some soft stone ink. These are Papertrey ink inks throughout this video, and I'm stamping up this this plaid stamp. And I'm going to stamp it twice because soft stone is quite subtle. I do want it to be subtle, but sometimes you do need to have stamp it twice just to get a good impression. Then with that done, I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to take out that large die for the diagonal frames, and I'm going to cut that out. And now you see it here. It has that frame, the diagonal lines all the way around, and if it has a little edge on the outside, you just trim that off. And so then I have a piece of weather vane cardstock and a white card base. The weather vane card panel is a quarter of an inch larger than the plaid one all the way around. So all sides have a quarter of an inch. And so now I'm going to use another piece of weather vane cardstock, and I'm going to cut out that diamond shape. It's really a neat diamond shape, and it's perfect for sentiments, and that's what we're going to use it for today. And I'm going to take one of the sentiments out. I'm going to prepare this with some anti-static powder, and then I'm going to tape it down. And it's nice that I have this glass mat that gives me these lines that I can line up those points to, so I know I'll have it straight. And then I inked up the stamp with Versamark ink, and again I'm using a long rectangle acrylic block that helps me, that has lines on it, and I can line up those lines onto the glass mat lines, and it makes sure that it gets on there straight. Makes life a lot easier. So I've sprinkled that with some white embossing powder, and I'm going to just heat emboss that. If it will stop running away from me, that is. So once that is all melted, and you can really see that nice sentiment, I'm going to take a piece of Harvest Gold. It's 1.125 inches in width, so that's how wide it is, and it's the length of the panel. And you can see I'm going to just slide it there, but for right now I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to make some flowers. So I'm going to start out using two inks. Again, like I say, these are Papertrey inks. I'm going to be using, for the dark color, I'm going to be using all of a sudden I blank on that always. Elegant Evenings. No, I think it's Enchanted Evenings actually. And then also I'm going to be using Blueberry Sky. So for the big flower, I did an Enchanted Evening, and then for this two groupings, I'm going to use half of it with the Enchanted Evenings and half with the Blueberry Sky, and I just spritzed it a tiny bit with some water using my spritzer there, and I did hold it away from me about arm's length. You couldn't see it all on the screen, but that's what I was doing there, just to make those inks blend a little bit more. I don't want to drown it, but I did want to have it blend. And then there's these little tiny flowers that I like a lot, and I stamped a few of those using the two inks that I had used previously. With that done, I'm going to now use the top stamp that really gives dimension to this flower, And I'm going to, I've prepped the paper with anti-static powder. Make sure your ink is dry. And then I have inked it up with fine ink and a Versamark, excuse me. And I'm stamping these. And then I'm going to heat emboss it. And I'm going to be using for this heat embossing, I'm going to be using for all the bigger flowers, I'm using the primary frozen embossing powder. So I'm going to just sprinkle that on. You see, I'm ignoring the three little ones right now. We'll get to those, but I'm going to just melt this embossing powder, and you can see this really gives a great dimension to these flowers. And then now that I have that done, there is two center dies. There's a smaller one and a larger one. It's to stamp the center of these flowers. And I wanted the center to be quite subtle. So I am going to stamp it with Versamark ink again. And you can see I used the anti-static powder before I did this. And then I have some white satin pearl, which is a Hero Arts ink that is very, very subtle, but it's still there and it gives a really nice sheen. So all of those get those centers with that embossing powder. So I'll just heat set that, and then we'll have those all in order. With that done, I'm going to take out the dies, and I'm going to now die cut all of these pieces. So there is a die for each of these flowers. I like that it has these two that are kind of grouped like that, and they have a really nice look to them. And then these two, and then those three little ones. So those are all done. I'm going to now go on to the leaves. You can see I'm just trying to build all my pieces, and then we'll put it all together at the end. So with these, I'm using simply chartreuse as the base, and then I'm going to use a little bit of accent, either using spring moss or ripe avocado. I am spritzing these right before I stamp them, and you can see it gives a really nice mottled look. So I stamp it with the Simply Chartreuse and then kind of blend it with my finger, and then either add the spring moss or the ripe avocado. The ripe avocado, of course, is a little bit darker, so it will give you a little bit more contrast, but I wanted to have both of them so that the leaves are slightly different from one another. And then spritzing it. I only spritz it once, and again, it's about arm's length. I just want it to barely get wet so that it just blends those colors just a little bit better. And with those stamped, I'm going to make sure that they're good and dry before I go and cut these out with the matching die. So you can see I cut them all out. Now I have all my pieces ready. So I'm going to take that weather vane panel that we made earlier that's just ever so slightly smaller than the card base, but still has a 1/4 of an inch showing from on all sides from this plaid panel. And I'm using double stick tape there, my Behemoth tape dispenser. I love it because I don't have to refill it all the time. And now I'm going to take this diamond die and feed through the yellow strip. And then it takes a little bit of fiddling to get this straight. But the one thing about it is those points do line up with the diamond points. And so if that makes it easier to get it straight. And I kind of fiddle with it. So I think I want to have this just a slightly higher than center. I think it'll look better with these flowers. And I have some foam tape on the back of each of these flowers. And I'm just going to mount them around, and I'll fuss with them a little bit here because I'm not sure exactly the placement until I get all these flowers together. And that's the one thing, I don't push down really hard on the foam tape at first because I may want to move them. And if you do push down, heaven help you trying to get that back up. And then I'm going to, after I have these little flowers put into place, I'm going to take those leaves and I will glue them in using some liquid glue. You won't see it here, but I do use a little bit of liquid glue on the back of these and just kind of tuck them in here and there. So here is a close-up to give you a better look at the card we just completed. And you can see those wonderful blue blossoms with the yellow and the gray really give a really nice look to it. And I love the leaves with that mottled look, using a few different colors of inks and then spritzing them gives it a more natural look. And I really enjoy that. I hope you enjoyed this too, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And you can pop over to blog.inktopaper.com and see more close-ups, a supply list, and other inspiration. But you can also see here I have listed a few of the products that I used in this video. And then, of course, you can always pop over to foiledfox.com, where we also feature all of these products as well. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.